or we shouldn't be demanding these names. 100% we need transparency on these because people who participated in this, we all need to know who they are. Thank you for doing that. And for the folks who say, yeah, but forget it. There's no yeah, but when it comes to this. So tell us what got you involved in it.
Thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate your support, and many people are supporting this. You know, it's just to a point of, like, what do these women have to do to finally get their voices heard, and finally to get justice and accountability, and finally for there to be transparency for the American people. And it shocks me. I think this is such a serious issue that it crosses all political boundaries. This shouldn't be a Republican, Democrat political issue, and it shouldn't put anyone against each other. I think in all fairness, it's very easy to say that the most famous convicted pedophile in our modern day history is Jeffrey Epstein, and there was a lot of people that enabled him and helped him rape and abuse girls as young as 14 years old. And they said that today. They said, it all started for me when I was 14 years old. That's a monster. That man is a monster, but he didn't do this by himself. And that's what these women are trying to tell the world. But this isn't their first time. And I think this is where people are confused, Eric. They have been trying to tell police, investigators, the FBI. They have told so many times their stories of abuse, and they have named names over and over again, not just to police, but in court cases, civil cases. And a lot of these cases are sealed right now. And so, you know, these women shouldn't have to be terrified to name names. They shouldn't have to be intimidated in any way. They shouldn't receive criticism all over social media for this, because everyone should understand, when you're naming the people that are the most powerful and wealthiest people in the world, and you're just an average woman and not wealthy in any way, you're going to get sued into oblivion. And that's what they're trying to protect themselves of. And it's our government, you know, it's our government that needs to come forward with all the information that the FBI has over administration ago. The DOJ, the CIA has information. Local police in Florida have information. The Jeffrey Epstein estate, his accountant and attorneys who were a big part of this have information, and many more people. And the women should not have to be out there you know, going through and reliving this nightmare. Everyone in power needs to finally do the right thing. And it's the easiest thing to do is release the information.
They're victims. I mean, they are victims. They're not pawns in a political back and forth, who did what. They're victims, and they should be exposed. Ghislaine Maxwell sat with the FBI, right? And I don't think we've learned anything new. And so you say the FBI has information, the CIA, that's interesting, because tell us why the CIA would be involved in this unless he was a foreign agent acting for someone else. Tell us what you know about these, because why is it that it's not only the Trump administration that's not releasing this information? The Biden administration didn't, nor did the Obama administration. Why is it so difficult to get this? Are there that many creeps on both sides of the donor aisle that have participated in this sexual, disgusting acts? Is that what it is?
You know, Eric, it certainly seems that way because, you know, big donors always get what they want. And it must, that can only be the explanation that makes sense. And that's pretty ridiculous and disgusting to think about. You know, here's the situation, and I'm learning a lot as we go. I serve on the Oversight Committee, so I will be a part of the investigation that we're holding on the Oversight Committee, and I'm going to put everything I have into that. But also am totally fine with co-sponsoring Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna's resolution, signing the discharge petition. And I can't comprehend why any other Republican men haven't stepped forward and done the same thing that I have. If this was their daughter, if this had happened to their wife earlier in her life, if this was anyone.
We can't keep pointing the finger at the trans community and all these people who are forcing their sexuality on young kids, right? We can't keep saying that's wrong and say, oh, but let's look the other way when these high-powered donors may have done something similar or worse. And we go, oh, let's not talk about it. So there is a hypocrisy runs so deep in D.C. MTG, please, I don't know if it was a misspeak, but why CIA? You mentioned specifically CIA. Why? Tell us about that.
Because that's what we were told in a closed door meeting with these victims of Jeffrey Epstein. They said the CIA knows, and they're begging us to release the documents.
Wow.
And they want us to release documents from the CIA. I think that's a no-brainer. That should be easy for Ratcliffe to do. That should be easy for the Trump administration to do. After all, they probably were not in charge when these connections were made. They also specifically said that Jeffrey Epstein would fly off to foreign countries at the drop of a hat anytime he was requested for very important meetings. And we said, what countries? And they named Saudi Arabia, Russia, and Israel. That was also said in the meetings. They also said that he not only did he traffic women in Florida, but he was involved in human trafficking all over the world. They said that his victims are in Russia, Ukraine, other Eastern European countries where he trafficked victims from those countries as well. And then the women also said that not only were there hundreds they think thousands of women that are victims of Jeffrey Epstein, they said there were a smaller group within these women that Jeffrey Epstein passed around to other men. And that was something that one of the victims spoke about today. And she's working with as many of because they all don't know each other. They're still connecting together, even though there's hundreds of them already connected. But what they're trying to do is speak with all the victims, and they're trying to build their own list of names. And that was something that they talked about today at the press conference.
Yeah, they have to be very careful that list is accurate. Otherwise, they actually could be sued. So very, very important to take their time and have some support, have some, financial support. And certainly people like you stepping up on their behalf is great. Here, tough question here. Trump obviously would like this to go away for whatever reason. I don't know why. I don't know why we were promised the whole Epstein list fully, and now we're getting dribs and drabs, highly redacted stuff and stuff we've already seen before as sort of a placation. I don't know why. I don't speculate. Do you expect you're going to get a little pushback from the administration for getting involved in this?
Oh, I got a lot of pushback. I got phone call after phone call last night. They didn't want me to sign the discharge petition. They want to focus on the oversight investigation. They hate Thomas Massie more than they can hate any Democrat. Which makes no sense to me. And they don't want to work with Democrats at all. But again, I'll say this. I'm not blaming President Trump whatsoever. I'm actually blaming some of his staff around him. Eric, you and I both know any president is insulated and in a cone of information based on the people that work directly with him. And I don't think they've informed him on what a big deal this really is. And I told the president this morning, I want to see him bring these women into the Oval Office, and I want him to be the hero and champion of this issue, and I want him to fight for these women because I know him to be a fighter, and when he fights for something, for an issue, and he fights for people, especially innocent victims of Jeffrey Epstein, then he beats everybody. And I really want to see President Trump do that, and I hope he changes his mind. Today, he called it a hoax while these women were speaking out, and they were saying, we're not a hoax, we're human beings. And I think we need to see something turn around there. And I'll say this, Eric.
He can prove it's a hoax by releasing it. Let us decide if it's a hoax or not. I mean, I love everything they're doing. I'm MAGA through and through. Before, I don't know. I'm original OG. Bannon calls me original gangster MAGA. I am.
Me too.
But you gotta give MAGA this.
Yeah.
You got to give it. We spent years saying you can't put a trans parade in the middle of children's, in the middle of a street on a Sunday with children involved. You can't go to kids' school story hour and have a trans. We're pointing fingers about doing the exact same thing or maybe even not as bad to some of the communities. MTG, before I go, you have 4 or 5 R signatures on this. Do you think this petition will get 218 like you need?
Well, I just want to finish up on one thing.
Yeah.
It's not a hoax because Jeffrey Epstein is a convicted pedophile. That takes away the whole hoax things. It's not a hoax. It's not a lie. And on that note, Eric, every Republican should be able to sign on to this. And that's the real hoax, that they're afraid to sign on to it because somebody who is a real coward from one of the Trump admin officials came out and called this a hostile act against the Trump administration. And I take very big offense to that because I put my life and my fortune on the line fighting to get that man elected. And whoever said that has their job because of people like me that fought all the horrible Republicans that stabbed him in the back after January 6th. And I was one of those that fought on the front lines and said, no, he is the leader of our party. He is the president, and we're going to make him president again. Well, that coward attacked me and attacked anybody else and called it a hostile act. The hostile act was Jeffrey Epstein raping 14-year-old girls. That was the hostile act, and it's not a hoax. And Eric, I'll tell you what, I hope people at home light up their phone lines. I hope they call them out on social media. I hope they show up at their district's offices, and I really hope that they push my colleagues to do the right thing. Right now, there's 4 of us. We only need 2 more, just 2 more.
Got it. All right. Well, let you go. Do you want to say who the person in the admin that called it a hostile act and is giving you?
I don't even know.
Okay.
They wouldn't even. They were quoted. They were quoted as a Trump admin official.
Got it.
Like
right.
They're such a coward. They wouldn't even go on record with their own name as they call it a hostile act.
Well, I think you're doing God's work. Honestly, you are doing the right thing, MTG. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
All right, folks. That was MTG. We'll be back. 2.5 minutes.
Hey, Rav family and War Room Posse, mark your calendar. September 12th and 13th, the Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws Tour is coming to the America First Warehouse.
I have never seen anything like this. 2
unforgettable days filled with patriots, barbecue, and live shows straight from the most amazing place, the America First Warehouse. Get ready for a special guest to be announced, plus a 3-hour live episode of Studio 6B.
And we're just going to go do it.
On the 12th, Steve Bannon will host War Room Live at 5 p.m. And Steve will be back again on the 13th. Woo! Followed by 1 hour with Peter Navarro.
I went to prison so you won't have to.
The Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws Tour, September 12th and 13th at the America First Warehouse.
Tickets go on sale Wednesday at midnight, and if you come, you'll get a special gift. See you there.
Hi, this is Kelly Renee from Northern California Hills, MAGA country. The reason I watch Real America's Voice is for the faith, the family, and the freedom. Giddy up!
Hey y'all, it's Nancy from Texas. Real America's Voice gives us truth, not propaganda, and we need that. Thank you so much.
Mama Love in northern Minnesota. You know, a collective voice is much louder than a single voice. Thanks, Rav, for giving us a place to chat and connect. See y'all in chat.
Hey guys, my name is Jeff. I'm from Massachusetts. I love Rav because of the free speech and the political wranglings that go on in the chat every day.
I think someday they will study these exact years. Someday these will be referred to as the darkest days, the end of journalism. In fact, there's no recovering from where we are right now. This is no way to fix what's been broken. The media, as we know it, is officially dead. DOA. What actually happens versus what they're willing to show you, what's really said versus what they're willing and wanting to let you hear. That's the stuff of dictatorships. That's the stuff of totalitarian regimes where the media is owned by the government or powerful thugs, sometimes both. It's not supposed to happen in America. We have a free speech mandate in the Constitution, and yet here we are. CBS was forced to pay President Trump $16 million to start in a settlement over their egregious editing of an interview with Kamala Harris right before the 2024 election. Who can forget this?
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
They took out all the nonsense words. They made her sound a tiny bit articulate when she wasn't. That's not just a lie. That's election interference, and it should be treason. Omitting information about someone vying to become the leader of the free world, helping their image and their voters through outright lies. Selective editing is a lie, folks. Selective editing is a lie. It's a classic element of a dictatorship, too. State-run television. It's Orwellian. They learn nothing. Well, apparently, CBS wants to lose more money because, yet again, CBS shows that has a clear-cut agenda, the Democrat agenda. Yet again, CBS proves that it has completely abandoned any semblance of real journalism and, for that matter, democracy. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem joined Face the Nation over the weekend on Sunday, and what you're about to see is the full answer, and below it, what was actually aired on that propaganda show.
And the one thing that we will continue to do is to make sure that he doesn't walk free in the United States of America. This individual was a known human smuggler, MS-13 gang member, an individual who was a wife beater, and someone who was so perverted that he solicited nude photos from minors. And even his fellow human traffickers told him to knock it off. He was so sick in what he was doing and how he was treating small children. So he needs to never be in the United States of America, and our administration is making sure we're doing all that we can to bring him to justice.
They cut out all that context. They just took the first part and then they went and had their little stupid ideas tossed around. It's a problem. It's selective editing. It's censorship. I left Newsmax because of that. I walked out the door. Here's my contract. I said, no, thank you if you're going to do that. They said, we have to. I said, goodbye. These people are not journalists. They're propagandists. Let's be clear. They're not editorializing something that was said after the fact. That would be fine. They're not even allowing what was actually said by a high-level government official to actually even be heard on the air because they don't like what she was saying. Noem stated facts about Abrego Garcia being a known human smuggler, MS-13 gangbanger. That's not convenient for CBS. Noem stated facts about him being a wife beater who solicited nude photos from minors. But that also not convenient for mainstream media, legacy media. Think about it. This isn't just about Kristi Noem. This is about journalism. This is about truth, transparency, and trust. If CBS can edit out the truth here and there, what else are they hiding from Americans? Joe Biden's demise? Probably. This isn't about Americans being anti-press. It's about because CBS and their fellow journalist comrades keep proving again and again that they just cannot be trusted. They won't even let the truth about the horrors committed by an illegal to be mentioned on their air. That's the level of effort being used, being deployed by Democrats to protect a violent illegal. This isn't the media. It's actually public relations. The media has become the public relations office for the Democrat Party. Take out the word media, whatever that means, and definitely remove the word journalism. Let's call a spade a spade. The media is the Democrat Party, period. Last week, a sick, mentally disturbed man shot up a church at a Catholic school. He killed 2 children, injured more than a dozen other people. He murdered innocent children. At the bottom of an article about the shooter, tiny, tiny, tiny line down there at the bottom. See it? Correction. A previous version of this article used the wrong pronoun for the shooter. She used female pronouns, said NBC News. Children were slaughtered, but NBC made sure to get those pronouns right. Formerly known as the media has created a new truth, and it's an extension of the deranged left's view of the world. Born a man, a biological man, NBC, a mentally ill man who turned to violence because of a forced agenda to turn every child in this country into some sort of transgender person. There, fixed it. That's the actual truth, but you won't print that either, will you, NBC? But they can't help themselves. Watch CNN's Breonna Kyler trip over herself to protect the illness they've propped up, only to have Seb Gorka shut her down.
By CNN's count, when you look at 32 school shootings since 2020, in which you have 4 or more people who have been killed, so these are the larger school shootings, only 3 of 32 of those shootings were committed by transgender shooters.
Yeah, forgive me if I don't go with CNN stats, okay?
Yeah, and what's even crazier is what happens to liars when they lie enough times. It becomes their truth, too, somehow. It becomes their own truth, their own reality. Gaslighting. They don't even realize what they're doing anymore. The denial runs so deep for so long they can't even see it in themselves. Over the weekend, the liberal sickos went into overdrive. Our president, who speaks to cameras nearly every single day since he became president again in November, was suddenly away from the cameras for a day. Immediately, they decided President Trump was gravely ill, maybe dead. Many of them said he was absolutely dead. Of course, when Joe Biden only appeared once on a Wednesday and once on a Friday, there was weeks he didn't appear anywhere. Before jetting off to some Delaware beach where he lay there almost a corpse, they didn't think much of it because he was their, napping or something. He was their guy. Who knows what he was doing? They didn't care. They weren't going to call him up. But Trump takes a day off. He's dead, right? Side note, what happened to Joe Biden's terminal stage 4 cancer? Anything? I don't know. That came up. Remember prostate cancer? I don't know. Any updates? Media? Or is this media just happy to brush the past? The fact that we had a near-dead president holding the nuclear codes for 4 years, just brush that under the rug. Well, one of the worst perpetrators of Democrat lies in the Biden cover-up, Chuck Todd, NBC's Chucky Todd, came out with this nonsense.
These health rumors, he only has himself to blame. And the entire Trump world only has themselves to blame for this, right? They live in this world of conspiracy and misinformation. They manufactured all sorts of garbage, whether it's about Hillary Clinton's health in 2016, Joe Biden's health in 2020 or 2024. My goodness, they've started congressional hearings based on rumors they created and manufactured on all things having to do with Biden and this auto pen and all this nonsense. So guess what? Good for the goose, good for the gander. All weekend long, where's Donald Trump? How come we're not seeing him? Bottom line is he's clearly got some health issues.
Meanwhile, back in June,
the single most difficult thing to report out on a politician is health.
It's so sensitive. Yeah.
Exactly. It is easy to, frankly, get shamed out of doing it. Right?
It's easier to
hear you. It's a private thing.
Chuck Todd, less than 3 months later, Trump's clearly has health issues. They can't even help themselves. It's what happens when you lie so much that the lies and the truth become blurred into each other. You don't hate the legacy media enough across all of them. Broadcast, ABC, NBC, CBS, cable, MSNBC, CNN, Fox. You don't hate them enough. You need to report the facts no matter where they lead, no matter who you are. And that is real journalism. When the media is biased and hides the truth, you've not only disgraced the profession, it's gone. You've wrecked it. How many times do they need to do it before we make the call? Pull the plug. Pull the plug, folks. 8%, Cable news is losing 8% of its audience a year for the last decade. Pretty soon, it'll be down to zero. I'm calling it the media, mainstream media, legacy media, officially DOA, dead. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes.
Hey, Rav family and War Room Posse, mark your calendar. September 12th and 13th, the Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws Tour is coming to the America First Warehouse.
I have never seen anything like this.
2 unforgettable days filled with patriots, barbecue, and live shows straight from the most amazing place, the America First Warehouse. Get ready for a special guest to be announced, plus a 3-hour live episode of Studio 6B.
And we're just going to go do it.
On the 12th, Steve Bannon will host War Room Live at 5 p.m. And Steve will be back again on the 13th. Followed by 1 hour with Peter Navarro.
I went to prison so you won't have to.
The Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws Tour, September 12th and 13th at the America First Warehouse.
Tickets go on sale Wednesday at midnight, and if you come, you'll get a special gift. See you there.
Hi, this is Kelly Renee from Northern California Hills, MAGA country. The reason I watch Real America's Voice is for the faith, the family, and the freedom. Giddy up!
Hey y'all, it's Nancy from Texas. Real America's Voice gives us truth, not propaganda, and we need that. Thank you so much.
Mama Love in northern Minnesota. You know, a collective voice is much louder than a single voice. Thanks, Rav, for giving us a place to chat and connect. See y'all in chat.
Hey guys, my name is Jeff. I'm from Massachusetts. I love Rav because of the free speech and the political wranglings that go on in the chat every day.
Well, there's been a ton of talk lately about tariffs being ruled illegal. My next guest has a few thoughts on this. Let's welcome precious metals specialist of the Birch Gold Group, Philip Patrick Back. Phil, your thoughts on this whole tariff sitch creating a little uncertainty in the markets, is it?
Yeah, it's a bombshell scenario. I mean, tariffs were meant to be obviously a big revenue source for Washington. They brought in hundreds of billions of dollars so far this year alone. If the court declares them illegal and perhaps even forces repayment, although I don't know how they're going to get that, obviously that'll be a massive hole blown in government finances. It means not just the loss of future revenue, but potentially hundreds of billions refunded to companies who already paid in. Again, I see the refunds being unlikely, but the potential to push us into even more debt at a time when we're already borrowing $4 to $5 billion a day, we're refinancing $10 to $15 billion a day. You know, think about it. We're already struggling to refinance this $37 trillion debt load, take away tariff revenue, and the hole only deepens. The Trump administration had a two-pronged approach to controlling costs. They had DOGE to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, and tariffs or the Department of External Revenue to bring in new cash. DOGE obviously has failed to live up to expectations. They never found the $2 trillion originally touted. Anything that lowers government revenue now, I think, is going to be problematic. So I'm hoping the Supreme Court say tariffs are good. Otherwise, we've got a bigger hole to make up.
You know, and we talk a lot, and what drives the price of gold and crypto and other things. And I've been saying the uncertainty is always one of the biggest drivers. And we're looking at 3625 today, record all-time high for gold. And folks keep saying, well, yeah, but it's too high right now. Philip, is it too high right now?
No, absolutely not. Not in the context of history. Where we sit today is kind of similar to the highs we saw in the 80s when it was $850 an ounce. Inflation adjusted, it's about $3,500. Second, look at what's driving growth in gold. It is all-time high demand, and it's coming from central banks, right? This first half of this year, biggest 6-month period in history for central bank demand. People have to remember something. Gold can go as high as currency goes low, right? In World War I, it cost 142 German marks for an ounce of gold. 10 years later, on the back of hyperinflation, 87 trillion German marks. Obviously, that's an extreme scenario, but we're heading into a period where the dollar's falling in value and gold will keep going up. Investment banks are raising their predictions. Goldman Sachs say 4,500 by the end of next year. So a lot of movement on the horizon.
Very quickly, Philip, half a minute or so. And folks should remember silver too. Silver's coming along for the ride. 41.32 as we speak right now. $41 an ounce for silver. Another great investment.
Absolutely. 55 to 1 has been the historical trading ratio since the 70s. We're at 85 to 1 today. It is undervalued. It's used a lot in industry. We consume more silver than we bring in every year. So silver's a longer term growth play. Do not sleep on silver. Prices are moving. It's outperformed gold this year, and I think it'll continue to grow as well.
I love these conversations. You know, we talk about the Birch Gold Group, which is great. Sponsors, we love you guys. But also we have intelligent conversations about folks who really are concerned about their nest egg, their wallet and their nest egg. Really good talking to Phil Patrick, Birch Gold Group. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, before Brandon Johnson turned Chicago into a worse hellhole, Lori Lightfoot, Beetlejuice, laid the foundation for him to do so. The former mayor went on CNN to discuss the city's crime epidemic, where, why don't you take a listen to, she placed the blame. Guess where she places the blame? Watch.
If he really cared about violent crime, go after the gun manufacturers who are just mass producing these weapons and have no liability or accountability. Go after the gun stores that know that they're selling to straw purchasers that flood into our city. Pass common sense gun reform that we have been begging for decades. Those are the kinds of things that actually would make a meaningful difference in violent crime. He's not talking about any of those things. He will not do any of those things, because this is not about violent crime. It's about something else.
Beetlejuice. I'm kidding, you idiot. Chicago crime has been horrendous. It's one of the most difficult places to get a carry license. They have some of the most strict gun laws in the Second Amendment gun laws in the country. Of course, everything's a soft target. And by the way, if you don't send your police into the neighborhoods where a lot of crime is happening, I don't care if it's Lori Lightfoot, Brandon Johnson, or Jesus Christ, it won't matter. People will still kill themselves and each other. Send them in. Speaking of, let's go Brandon Johnson, we tried to blame Trump for all of the crime that he's enabled, but actually slipped up, gave us a little Freudian slip. Take a listen.
Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
I'm so over that place. J.D. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, thinks that the hysteria in America right now over surging crime, well, it's excessive. Tell that to the people who are getting killed and their families. Even though 54 people were shot last weekend in Chicago, 9 died just in Chicago alone over the weekend. But here he is, Brandon Johnson, trying to convince us all not to trust our lying eyes.
Just during the last week, I've been in neighborhoods across Chicago, from Bronzeville to South Shore to Chatham to Little Village. The president's absurd characterizations do not match what is happening on the ground here. He has no idea what he's talking about. There is no emergency that warrants deployment of troops.
There's no urgency. 9 people killed over the weekend. That's not bad for you, JB. That's okay. Billionaire JB Pritzker. CNN clearly got the memo from Chicago Democrats. They too downplayed what was one of the bloodiest weekends of the year. Listen to how this terrible network made light of 30-plus shooting, 50-something people shot, 8 or 9 dead.
Chicago did experience a particularly brutal Labor Day weekend. Police say 56 people were shot, 7 were killed. But across the board, crime is still down compared to last year.
Compared to last year, that's great. Great, Brianna, you brilliant moron. You compare it to 1 year. By the way, why don't you compare it for the last 10 years and see where the crime rate really is? Higher, murder rates higher. They're pushing the 80s and 90s murder rates. In Chicago, number of murders per civilian, one of the highest in the country, if not the highest. DC was one of them as well. That's getting cleaned up. CNN making my job very easy. Lately, this network should be aired exclusively outside of the United States because their interests have nothing to do with America or the American people. They aired several minutes of a Chinese military parade yesterday, giving the communist spectacle way more airtime than even Trump's parade. Remember that? They didn't even air it. Barely. Well, here's a clip of what they showed.
We're watching live pictures tonight, right now, a massive parade underway in Beijing as the Chinese President Xi Jinping is showing off his country's arsenal and military might to the world and to the more than 24 foreign leaders who are there in person attending this military parade that includes those from Russia, North Korea, and Iran. In a speech just a few moments ago, President Xi warned that the world needs to choose, as he put it, quote, between peace and war.
Yeah, let's prop up the Chinese military and trash Trump. All right, folks, something coming. I just want you to know it's coming. I have a new trailer for you tomorrow, but look at this one more time. I started with nothing but my body and my mind, and I fought my way to the top of 4 arenas built to break men. First, pro baseball, where every pitch can end your dream. Then Wall Street, where I became one of the highest earning traders in America. Then came television, primetime lights, millions watching every night, a test. And I put it in writing. Wake Up America, followed by The Swamp, calling out corruption by name. But the edge isn't politics. It's not about fame. It's about fire. It's about proving yourself when everything is on the line. Only the strong survive it. Only the ready rise through it. This is The Edge. September, The Edge is coming.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
Hey y'all, it's Nancy from Texas. Real America's Voice gives us truth, not propaganda, and we need that. Thank you so much.
It's Stacy from Texas. I watch Real America's Voice because I need to learn, and I know I can get the truth through Rav. God bless everyone, and always love the children. Amen.
This is Diane from Rhode Island. Why do I love Real America's Voice? Because they deliver us facts from hosts who love America and love God. What's not to like?
This is Giselle Chaffin. I'm from North Carolina. I'd like to let you know that Rav News is the best news. #1 news. Truth seekers seek to find the truth. It'll set you free.
right, we didn't have a lot of time for voicemail, so I'm not going to go through it. But Benny, can you come on the voice of God, as they say?
Hello.
Yeah. Let's just give us a great voicemail for tomorrow. Let's hear clean, so we don't have to do too much editing. But how about that control room shot, Ben? Can you grab that? There's Ben, there's MD. Who else is that? Colton, who is that?
MD Colton, we got Matt and Trish behind
Matt and Trish behind you. I love these guys. These guys work so hard. All these folks work really hard. I hope you appreciate the time that they put in on the show. I certainly do. And if you've noticed, we've added this little Steve Gruber to bowling talk once in a while, but it'll butt up against our show. And typically, if we have time, or Mr. Bannon wants to jump in and have a conversation about what's going on the war room, we do that too. We love that. We will continue to do that. But in the meantime, the voicemails have been great. Ben, have you guys ever called in and disguised your voice and pretend to be a viewer and actually left a message?
We've talked about it, but we have not done it just yet. It'll happen. And we'll push you to put it on air.
I keep thinking one of my friends is doing that, because some of them are pretty funny, some of them are pretty wacky. But I don't know. I love the voicemails.
I think you'll know when we do it.
Do you think so? You think I can get away with it? I'm not sure.
It'll be ridiculous.
I'm not sure I would know. I think you could pull one over the wall with me. And if you do, let it air and then tell me. Get into the voice of God and tell me, we just got you, Bolly. We got you. That was
Absolutely.
us. Absolutely.
If we do that, we won't tell you until it airs.
All right,
so we'll make it good enough to get picked.
Yeah, make it good. And maybe that's what you do. This would be a great voicemail, because it's got a little funny, quirky, get my attention, and tell us exactly what's on your mind, folks. We love it. All right, we're going to leave it there. War Room is up next. Always had a great time. We'll see you tomorrow. Another great show.
Mr. President, thank you very much, and I would like to express my gratitude for your invitation. Only after 1 month from my sworn and from celebration for my inauguration, it means that Polish-American relations are very important, very strong. I think that we have so strong relations that we have never had. And it's very important for me. Our relations are based, of course, on the values. Right? Thank you very much for your support, for your endorsement during my very hard campaign. I remember it, and I'm very grateful for your support. It was the fight me against others, so your support was very important. And the support of Polish people, Polish diaspora in United States of America. We have almost more than 10 million people here, and they voted for Donald Trump. They voted for me. Yeah, and in vast majority they voted also for me. So I would like to say hello to Polish diaspora in United States of America. Those relations for me, for Poland, for Poles are very important with United States of America, and they are based on values: independence, sovereignty, democracy. And I think, Mr. President, that those values are epitomized by our common heroes, Kazimierz Pułaski and Tadeusz Kościuszko. So thank you very much, and I hope it will be very fruitful discussion around the energy, around the economy and military service. Yeah.
Transparency is justice. Release the files, end the secrecy, and stand with us in declaring that no one, no billionaires, no politicians, not world leaders, is above the law. And let me announce now, several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details on that. Because history is washing, and so are the women who will come after us. That's right. Thank you.
sir? So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C.
This is the best issue of all. They are against preventing crime. They are fighting us. I want to go into Chicago, and I have this incompetent governor that doesn't want us. Do you know that this weekend 72 people were shot in Chicago? I'm embarrassed to say it in front of the president of Poland. 11 people were killed. 72 people were shot. Last week, 7 people were killed in Chicago, a place which is probably your number one place. I hate to say it.
Yeah, I love the balls in Chicago.
And we got to keep it safe. But 7 people were killed. The week before that, 5 people were killed, and 21 people were shot. This is in 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks, I lost almost 35 people were killed. It could have been stopped. If you look at Washington, D.C., 3 weeks ago, it was the same or worse. And now it's considered a totally safe zone. I have no message to President Putin. He knows where I stand, and he'll make a decision one way or the other. Whatever his decision is, we'll either be happy about it or unhappy. And if we're unhappy about it, you'll see things happen.
2002, I was living in California, a young woman with high aspirations of becoming an actress. I was already beginning to make a name for myself in the industry. A person I trusted, someone I thought was a friend, invited me to meet a powerful woman who could help advance my career. That woman happened to be Ghislaine Maxwell. I was asked to give her a massage, though I had almost no experience, and when I did, she praised me and promised introductions to someone enormously powerful, someone who could change the course of my life, and that man was Jeffrey Epstein. At first, I was an excited young woman on top of the world. Epstein flew me to his private island. He listened to my dreams, promised to help, but his promises came with a catch. The abuse began. He told me to keep it secret. He manipulated me with quid pro quo I did not consent to, but I felt I had no one to turn to. He was too powerful. I was just one of the many young women trapped in his orbit. I was even taken on a trip to Africa with former President Bill Clinton and other notable figures. In those moments, I realized how powerless I was. If I spoke out, who would believe me? Who would protect me? Epstein himself was the most powerful leader of our country. Epstein surrounded himself, with the most powerful leaders of our country and the world. He abused not only me, but countless others, and everyone seemed to look away. The truth is, Epstein had a free pass. He bragged about his powerful friends, including our current president, Donald Trump. It was his biggest brag, actually. And while what I endured will haunt me forever, I live every day with PTSD. I live as a mother trying to raise my child while distrusting a world that has betrayed me. This kind of trauma never leaves you. It breaks families apart. It shapes the way we see everyone around us.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Wednesday, 3 September, the year of our Lord 2025. Of course, a
wild day on Capitol Hill. We covered the press conference wall to wall to see if any names would be released or any details. The discharge petition is in kind of limbo right now. I know they're working up there, but they don't have the votes to pass it, so we'll continue to follow that. President Trump pretty hard, saying, hey, it's a hoax, Democratic hoax. In fact, it looks like all the names are going to be Democratic names, so who knows. But a huge turnout for that today. As I said, we covered it wall to wall. Also, Poland, I just got back from giving a speech over to one of a great event put on by the Polish media company, Jack Posobiec, myself. Darren Beatty was there. Incredible. The Polish, just a glorious day for the relationship between Poland and the United States, and particularly the two populist nationalist movements that are driving politics here in the United States, America First, MAGA, and, of course, the Law and Justice Party with the new president, the boxer, and he's both a boxer and a historian, a man of action and a man of thought. Mike Davis joins us by phone. Mike, so with everything going on, probably the most important thing about us moving with alacrity and getting things done are still the radical nature of the courts. I want to get to Google in a minute, but walk me through just where we stand, because every day I see that it looks like, whether it's trying to deport people, mass deportations, Aliens Act, other things President Trump's trying to do, these courts are now trying to getting in the way more than ever, sir?
Yeah, it's the judicial sabotage continues even after President Trump and his all-star Justice Department team are winning monumental cases at the Supreme Court of the United States. You still see these radical Democrat activist judges around the country trying to undermine not only the President of the United States and his Article 2 power, they're undermining the Supreme Court of the United States and its Article 3 judicial power by ignoring these cases. I know that Justice Gorsuch, my former boss, called out these judges. In one of his recent writings, Justice Gorsuch said, you can disagree with our decisions, but you can't ignore them. You can't disregard them. And that's what these activist judges are doing. President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi, White House counsel Dave Warrington, Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, Chad Mizell, the Chief of Staff, John Sauer, the Solicitor General, Harmeet Dillon, the head of Civil Rights, Tash Patel, Dan Bongino. They're doing a great job every day. They're cleaning up crime in D.C. With Kristi Noem and Tom Homan and Stephen Miller, they've sealed the border. They're expelling illegal aliens, particularly foreign terrorists and other violent criminals. They're fighting every day on these matters, and they have Democrat lawyers, Democrat plaintiffs, Democrat witnesses, Democrat judges, Democrat operatives throwing sand in the gears constantly because these Democrats know they're going to lose, but this is about running out the clock.
Let me go to just three major things. They're the centerpiece of America First and President Trump's program. Number one, on the tariffs, we've had a judge rule that you can't use the emergency powers. On deportation, a judge has ruled you can't use the Alien and Enemies Act. These were all, I'm not saying creative, but really kind of very well thought through, but very outside the box thinking. Number three, I think on Posse Comitatus, they're saying we really can't send troops into Chicago, Los Angeles, or New York outside of D.C. The three big things: law and order, redoing the world's commercial relationships, and getting 10 million bad hombres, illegal alien invaders out of the country. The courts right now have struck all. Am I correct? Have they struck it? It's more than sand in the gear. They've struck those all down as we currently sit here today on the afternoon of 3 September.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean by sand in the gears is that these judges know, these Democrat activist judges know they're going to have their decisions reversed by the Supreme Court of the United States, but that's going to take weeks or even months for that to happen. And that's what I mean by throwing sand in the gears. And I would say this: remember, these judges sat by and let Biden import 20 million illegal aliens, a mass invasion of our country. This is a violation of we the people's most fundamental sovereign right. And that sovereign right is to control our border and control our population. And I'll say this to these judges, including on the Supreme Court. At no time did we, the people, give away that sovereign power, that sovereign right to control our border and our population, not at our founding with the Fifth Amendment, not after the Civil War with the 14th Amendment, and no Congress since then, and certainly not after the last election. President Trump campaigned on the fact he's going to seal the border, he's going to expel these terrorists, he's going to reduce crime, and he's delivering on his campaign promise. And these judges need to get the hell out of his way.
Mike, can you hang on for 1 second or take a short break? Here's a question I want to give you, and I'll wait for the answer on the other side. All three of these, I think, get back to the Article 2 powers, his emergency powers, both on the tariffs, on the Aliens Act, and on law enforcement, on posse comitatus. Mike Davis will give us the answer. They have gummed it up more than that. I mean, they are everywhere. Like we said, to delay is to deny. We need a maximalist strategy. We need to move with urgency and seize the institutions. The only thing the Democrats have going for them right now is these radical judges, and they're using it to the utmost. Like I said, President Trump is winning, but an overwhelmed Justice Department. And this is why we should have done the recess appointments in August, folks, in August. Not wait to get back. And Thune's talking about doing some things on the margins, right, for some judicial appointments. Of course, the Republicans always want to get the judges through. Mike Davis was the tip of the spear of us for that. We need the Grundoons. We need the deputy assistant secretary, the assistant secretary, the undersecretaries, more people at justice, these U.S. attorneys. President Trump needs to fight with a full team. Short commercial break. Mike Davis going to give us the answer on the other side.
Hi, my name is Tracy Elk with Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
Hey y'all, it's Nancy from Texas. Real America's Voice gives us truth, not propaganda, and we need that. Thank you so much.
It's Stacy from Texas. I watch Real America's Voice because I need to learn, and I know I can get the truth through Rav. God bless everyone, and always love the children. Amen.
This is Diane from Rhode Island. Why do I love Real America's Voice? Because they deliver us facts from hosts who love America and love God. What's not to like?
This is Giselle Chaffin. I'm from North Carolina. I'd like to let you know that Rav News is the best news. Number one news. Truth seekers seek to find the truth. It'll set you free.
America's Voice family.
Are you on Getter yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free.
It's uncensored, and it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Getter app right now. It's totally free. It's where I put up exclusively all of my content 24 hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Getter.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec,
And so many more.
Download the Getter app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
So, Mike Davis, a lot of this centers around President Trump's emergency powers. The emergency power on the national manufacturing, economic, and the situation with fentanyl, on the tariffs. You got the deportations using the Alien and Enemies Act, and then you've got the emergency powers to get around posse comitatus in D.C. and now in Chicago, New York, and L.A., New Orleans. President Trump says this show is done so well in D.C. He's taking it on the road. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, I would say this to these activist judges like Judge Charles Breyer, the 83-year-old brother of former Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, these Democrat judges, that the President of the United States can use the military to repel an invasion of our country. And when we have 20 million illegal aliens who are imported into our country unlawfully by the last President of the United States, it is within the President's constitutional power and his constitutional duty to repel that invasion. And he can use the military to do that because these are foreign terrorists in our country. These are violent foreign criminals in our country who are raping, kidnapping, torturing, murdering Americans. And so the president has the power to do that separate from any statutes, right? He has the power as the commander-in-chief to do that. And I would say this about the tariffs, that is within the president's foreign policy power, and that cannot be taken lightly. And you should always, when you're a judge, you should always err on the side of the president of the United States if there's a question whether the president has power as it relates to foreign policy. And I think that's where the Supreme Court is going to end on these tariff cases. But stepping back a broader picture, that, remember, President Trump campaigned on the fact he's going to do all these things, and the American people like what they heard. They gave him an overwhelming electoral mandate, 312 electoral votes, all 7 swing states, the popular vote. He kept the House. We won a comfortable margin in the Senate. The American people gave the president a mandate to lead, and he's using core Article 2 power to lead. And he's not stealing legislative power from Congress. He's not stealing judicial power from the Supreme Court. It's core Article 2 power. But I would say this: are these courts going to step in when we have unelected executive branch bureaucrats like Tony Fauci making decisions on behalf, on behalf of the American people? I don't see these judges for the last 60 years or 80 years or 90 years going back to when the administrative state was set up. I don't see these judges stepping in and stopping the unelected bureaucrats when they do things that would, as many would say, is outside of their constitutional power. But these judges are sure quick to go after President Trump, the elected president of the United States, when he's fulfilling his campaign mandate. They're sure quick to go after him when he's exercising full Article 2. So it's obvious to anyone that this is political, this is partisan by these activist judges. They have a policy disagreement with the American people who elected this president of the United States to do what he's doing. And these judges are acting outside of their judicial roles. Their job is to wear robes, not capes. Their job is to decide cases and controversies of the parties properly before them with redressable claims. Nothing more, nothing less. That is their Article 3 power. And we have too many narcissists and capes instead of judges and robes.
They're being held up. I mean, you see it with Luigi in prison. Now they're using artificial intelligence to. He's selling product in. They're commercializing his image. You've got Mamdani in New York City. That's a a radical jihadist and communist Marxist. They're rewarding that. They're rewarding these judges. They're singing their praises every day in the New York Times, the Washington Post, some of the Wall Street Journal, MSNBC, and CNN. These are heroes. Reversal at the Supreme Court is going to mean nothing to these people. They're going to look there and say, at least we slowed it down for a year, or we made Trump work harder, and it's an opportunity cost. He couldn't function on something else. In your mind, you're the viceroy, and you're the viceroy for a reason. What is it going to take to stop this, sir?
Well, I would say this, that these judges, when they lose the legitimacy of the American people, when the American people stop believing that they're impartial judges following the law, when the American people think that these are partisan actors and rogues, then when the Supreme Court and the lower federal courts, when the federal judiciary loses its legitimacy with the American people, it loses everything, because the federal judiciary does not have an army to enforce its orders. It has to rely on the Justice Department, the executive branch, to enforce its orders. And they are going to create a serious constitutional crisis in the federal judiciary if they don't get back into their lane, if they don't do their crucial but limited role of deciding cases and controversies of the parties properly before the judges with redressable claims. Nothing more, nothing less.
It reminds me of Thomas More in A Man for All Season, when the young guy trying to get his daughters, trying to get him to marry him, is in a debate with Thomas More and says he would cut down every law in England to get to the devil. And Thomas More says, and when the devil turns on you and you've cut down every law in England, what's to stand between you and destruction? He doesn't have an answer. That's where we're headed on this. Mike, one more thing before we let you go. You rose to prominence here over the last 5 or 6 years by fighting concentration of corporate and governmental power. We had a devastating loss. Given all the work people did, you have to call a ball and a strike. This Google situation is a loss, is it not, sir?
It is, and it is a devastating loss. Like you said, I've spent the last 6 years taking on Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple on the right. It was Rachel Bovard and me who started this thing. And they have concentrated power, like you said. They have monopoly power, and they use that monopoly power to crush competition, shutter small businesses, and silence conservatives and others with whom they disagree. We've made tremendous strides on this. They have 2 antitrust lawsuits that are being handled by the Justice Department's Antitrust Division by Gail Slater. And one of these cases just went to Judge Mehta, who is an Obama judge. And Judge Mehta gave a very disappointing remedy in the Google case, the Google search case. There's the Google search case that was just decided. There's also the Google online advertising case, which is more important, frankly. And Judge Mehta, even though he found that Google is a monopolist, meaning it uses its market power to crush competition, Judge Mehta gave a pretty tepid remedy to Google. And it's wrong. I think that Gail Slater should appeal this decision to the D.C. circuits because the remedy does not fix the market harm that Google has caused.
Mike Davis, the Viceroy, Article 3, where do people go, sir?
Article3project.org, article number 3project.org. You can follow us on social media, donate, but only what you can afford. The most important thing, again, for the War Room Posse is action, 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 the action page. And thank you, Steve.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Maximalization and urgency. We are at, and seize the institutions, those 3 things. Because we're in it now, folks. And you see the deep state, the administrative state. Tomorrow, huge hearing. We're going to have a total show live. I got guests coming on. We're going to work this whole thing through. But Bobby Kennedy is going up to the Senate, I think, at 10 a.m. to be grilled. An inquisition, let's call it. Mary Holland George says, Mary, I got a cold open for you, but I want to play it after the break. How important is it tomorrow about Bobby Kennedy? Because they're going to come after him hard on these vaccines, are they not?
Yeah, and they're going to come after him for attacking the deep state at the Centers for Disease Control and basically throughout HHS. I'm here in D.C. right now and will be there at the hearing, and I do think it's really important. As you said, we're in it. The war is on. And the efforts to reform health and to create a healthier America are definitely running into some deeply entrenched governmental and corporate interests, and that's what we're up against.
But this doesn't surprise us. We knew this fight was coming, and quite frankly, this is a fight we want because we believe in platinum-level science. They supposedly believe in science, or at least they say they purport to. And, hey, if it's a battle between science and between data, we win. Am I wrong in that? I mean, we want this fight. They're going to fight dirty every way.
No, you're absolutely right. This has to happen, and it's on. And really, they're claiming science, but they don't have it. Bobby Kennedy is saying, "Show us the data, show us the science." They're purporting to show the science. So it was really interesting. President Trump came out on Monday, Labor Day, to say, "Pfizer, show the people what you've shown me about how effective and safe your vaccines were during COVID and Operation Warp Speed." And they're coming out and saying, "Oh, well, we're posting all of these articles." But that's not going to be sufficient, Steve. There's a lot more that has to be done than just sort of saying, look at our citations. They're in trouble. You know, Bobby Kennedy is over the target, and he's there because there's this enormous popular support to end the broken healthcare system that we have.
Hang on for 1 second. We're going to take a short commercial break. Everybody worked on the Pfizer papers under under Naomi Wolf's guidance. Tomorrow's big day. Pfizer, stand and deliver. Short break. Back in a moment.
Every person who has taken me on this road to that prison is a friggin' Democrat and a Trump hater.
When former White House advisor Peter Navarro stood on principle, he never imagined it would land him behind bars.
They demanded that I break the law.
But he refused to betray Donald Trump or the Constitution and paid the price as a political prisoner. Locked inside a Miami federal prison, Peter found two lifelines, postcards of hope to his fiancée Bonnie Pixie Brenner, and a hidden multi-million-dollar prison scandal he's now exposing. Went to prison so you won't have to. Peter and Pixie share a riveting prison diary, a heartfelt love story, and a shocking look at injustice in America's prison system. Stand with Peter. Scan the QR code now or go to Amazon.com to order your copy.
I went to prison so you won't have to.
Florida Sun Goddess here. Let me tell you why I love RAV. They let my voice be heard. They give me a platform for community so I don't feel alone. Thanks so much. God bless.
I'm Andy M., and I love Real America's Voice, where my voice counts and your voice counts. That is America's Voice.
Flashosaurus in the chat. I love Real America's Voice because I can watch news being delivered to me live while I chat with the family I love.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love RAV? You ever talk to the hosts? You can do that on RAV. And the RAV family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
what I'm most excited about is an announcement that we're going to make, that we're making now, which is that the Florida Department of Health, in partnership with the governor, is going to be working to end all vaccine mandates in Florida law. All of them. All of them. All of them. Every last one of them. Yeah. Every last one of them. All of them. Every last one of them. Every last one of them is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery.
That's Dr. Latipo. We're trying to get him on tomorrow. Mary, you'll actually be in the audience, so hopefully we'll get you afterwards. So tie together what just happened in Florida with Dr. Latipo. We had Latipo on the other day. I think he should be the new CDC guy myself. He's my nominee. What he and Governor DeSantis are doing in Florida, which is a pretty big and robust state. A lot of people are moving there. The economy's on fire. Versus Pfizer getting back to Trump. Trump says, hey, I just want to be transparent. Trump's not a scientist. I'm not a scientist. We're not doctors. Just put the information out. Put the data out. Put it out like in the Pfizer papers that the Warren Posse did with the team over at Daily Cloud. Just do something like that, or refute what we put out in the Pfizer papers, which I think is irrefutable. But so how can Florida do this if tomorrow we're going to have, and it's going to be an inquisition. It will be an inquisition of Bobby Kennedy. They are going to try it. I said this last week. This is all about forcing Bobby Kennedy out as Secretary of HHS, which will not happen. But we're going to go to war over this thing. Trust me. Tomorrow, you think it's bad now. Tomorrow, during it, and then after, as the media jumps in here, you better fix bayonets, folks, because this one's going to be rough. Mary Holland.
So what happened in Florida is not only a response to what Pfizer did, but it's also a response, Steve, to what the northeastern states are doing, the blue states on the West Coast are doing, saying, we're going to come up with our own vaccine recommendations. We're going to work with the corporate interests at American Academy of Pediatrics. We're just going to ignore the CDC. So what Joe Latipo and Governor DeSantis did was a huge endorsement, really, for what Bobby Kennedy is doing, but they've gone the step further, as they did throughout COVID. No state in the United States was more in touch and aligned with health freedom than Florida and Governor DeSantis. And they looked at the data then. And our position at Children's Health Defense is there should be no medical mandates. Medicine should be about the individual. It cannot be done at the population basis. We know that if you administer one food, one drug, one vaccine to everybody, some people are going to be hurt. That's acknowledged. Everybody recognizes that. So I'm thrilled with what Florida has said. I'm sure it will be challenged in the courts, maybe by the legislature. That's just happened in West Virginia as well. But this fight is coming. Can there be medical mandates and real autonomy and bodily integrity and human rights, or not? And I think this is coming to a head, and this is great, because there has to be the right to make decisions about your own health care and about your own body. And if we don't have that, literally, as Joe Latipo just said, it drips of disdain and slavery. If you don't have control over your own body, what do you have control over? Nothing, literally nothing. If you think you can control your property, if you can't control your body, it doesn't work that way. So it's exciting that this is really coming to a head.
I want to go to the north. The blue states and some of these northeastern states, they're doing it to get away from Bobby Kennedy, correct?
Yeah, correct.
They're saying, hey, Bobby Kennedy's in charge, Maha's in charge of CDC. We're going to go ahead and go full Tony Fauci. They're not doing this for freedom. They're doing it for the exact opposite.
No,
correct?
And they're doing this because of their relationships to pharma, frankly, to their relationships to big pharma. You know, listen, sadly, pediatricians are financially incentivized by the insurance companies and by pharma to give kids over 70 vaccines by the time they're 18 years old. this has been going on for decades, and they don't want to end the gravy train. And they believe in it, Steve. I'm not saying that there aren't pediatricians that believe in it. They do. But if you look at the clinical trials, if you look at those Pfizer papers about the COVID shots, the evidence just isn't there. There's just not science behind this.
What should we look for? Make us smart, because we're not going to have you until afterwards. Make us smart on what we should be looking for tomorrow, and particularly as some of these Democrat senators and a few Republicans really have a star chamber on Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of ad hominem attacks from Democrats. I think we're going to see they're saying, oh, you're firing senior level people who've been working at CDC for 30 years. That's kind of the point, Steve. You know, America's public health has been declining for decades. So, but they're going to be also talking about his cutting jobs unjustifiably. They're going to say that he's an anti-vaxxer. The person that I'm most going to be most focused on, Steve, is Senator Cassidy. He's head of the Senate Help Committee. The Senate Help Committee does have some oversight over HHS. He's on the Senate Finance Committee. And so I think he's a very important fulcrum. I think a lot of the Democrats are going to be calling for Bobby Kennedy's resignation or termination. I don't think there's any question about that. They want him out. Their clients, pharma, wants him out. And remember, September, this month, is when Bobby Kennedy is going to come back and say what's, initial assessment of what's causing autism. That is earth-shattering. That is huge. Pharma has got to be shaking in their boots about that.
So you agree with me that this is all driving to the Democrats and some Republicans and Big Pharma, because Big Pharma owns them all, driving to force Bobby Kennedy out, correct?
Oh, there's no doubt that that's what they're trying to do. There was a leaked memo from Bio, one of the lobbying groups, that explicitly said we're putting $2 million towards dividing Trump and Kennedy and getting Kennedy out. There's no question that their objective is to get him out. I don't think it's going to succeed. I was so happy to see President Trump's post on Monday saying, more or less, I stand with Bobby Kennedy, and Pfizer, like, show your cards. That was really encouraging. I think that's sending a signal to the Senate and to others of, you're on the hot seat, Pfizer.
We have argued that HHS should be more aggressive in putting out data and putting out they've got the 700 studies curated and put it out, that you have to, in this information war, if you ain't on offense, you're getting smoked, right? And Big Pharma, they got the best lobbyists, the best PR firms, they got unlimited money. Do you think HHS on the comm side ought to be just more aggressive about putting out because we win on the facts. Let's get the facts out there.
Listen, we win on the facts, and right now they're winning on the messaging. And so I think there needs to be grassroots messaging on social media in support of the movement to make America healthy, in support of the reform that Secretary Kennedy is doing. I think that the grassroots are going to win ultimately, but let's be real, slick messaging and tons of money is pretty useful.
Yeah, no, corporate messaging. Mary, your social media, people need to get all over this, and your website, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow afternoon after the Star Chamber.
So website for Children's Health Defense is childrenshealthdefense.org. It's a great website. It really is. Tons of information, lots of free stuff there. And I'm on X at Mary Holland NYC.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Steve.
Incredible. One thing, putting the show together just every day now, it's curating. But here's the great thing. This audience, you are the tip of the spear. People come on here because they want to talk to grassroots leaders, and they want to talk to people that take action. Just don't sit there and just, a couch potato. Everything that in fact, if you look at the arc of the show, starting with impeachment, war room pandemic, the election, everything about Trump and the years in the wilderness, right? It's all coming, as I said, the convergence of everything that we fought for is happening. That's what I said after the first 100 days. The next 200 will define not just Trump's presidency, but it also defined where we are in the United States against all this, particularly the deep state, the administrative state. But if you look at everything from the geopolitics and the wars, you look at the huge vaccine fight, and not just vaccines, but turning around the medical industry, make America healthy again. If you on all this, whether it's sealing the border, mass deportations, you can't pick one topic that we've made. Election integrity, you can't pick a topic. There's not massive things happening every day. And that's why we want to make sure you share the clips, push everything out, because this is only going to get more intense. In all of this happening, also, you've got the ticket. You can hear the ticking right now on midnight on September 30th. The budget, the appropriations bill's nowhere to be done. Tom Cole's already talking about extension. When you hear extension, hear CR, a continuing resolution. You've got Russ Vought and the team is putting out, and President Trump has backed a pocket rescission. It's only $5 billion, but it's got the Senate completely freaked out that the president would actually take executive action. Like I said, I'd give them some impoundments. I wouldn't even do a pocket rescission. I'd get right up in their face and let's go to court about it. They've gone to court about everything else. Every different vertical, everything that you folks have worked on and fought for over the last, 5 years this show's been on, 4 or 5 years, is coming to fruition right now. It's absolutely incredible. This September is going to be just strap in. And tomorrow is going to be Inquisition for Bobby Kennedy. As I said last week, they are, and I said this in the Washington Post, I gave him a quote, I said, hey, this whole thing is about forcing out Bobby Kennedy. And the president, I'm really proud of the president, he came out and said he had Kennedy's back. He said, Pfizer, I'm very proud of Warp Speed. However, there are a lot of issues, a lot of complaints, and some data out there I don't fully understand. Be totally transparent. And what did Pfizer do? Oh, we've got these studies, and we're going to put out some more studies. I think what they've got to do is come forward with all their data, like the data that was quite frankly, that they had to turn over because a federal court says, no, you can't keep this secret for 70 years. You have to put it out. And Naomi Wolf and the team, and of course, 3,500 War Room Posse members jumped in there and just did an absolutely extraordinary job. The shift in geopolitics, or the attempted shift of the Chinese Communist Party, KGB, they're trying to rope in Modi, my guy Modi, one of the great nationalists in the world. You saw that happen in China over the last 72 hours. The new federal state of China did a magnificent job of putting it up last night so everyone could watch it. President Trump took notice. He said, hey, look, I think if you're conspiring against the United States, maybe I'm going to have something to say about that. This is there tomorrow or today. I think it's today. Tomorrow is the Ukraine conference call between the European nations to come back with their security guarantees, what they're really going to put up, money, weapons, manpower. We'll see. It's all phony. Today was the BRICS nations, because they saw an opportunity when they were in China. They saw an opportunity for the CCP, and I told you the CCP was leading this. They understand to come after the United States, you have to come after the United States, not just militarily and not culturally, which they're doing both. You have to come after the United States about its financial superpower and its economic power. The basic way you do that is to go after the U.S. dollar as the prime reserve currency, because the entire post-war system of global economics and finance are predicated upon the U.S. dollar as the prime reserve currency. Go to Birch Gold right now. The end of the dollar empire. Go to birchgold.com/Bannon. That's me. That's the promo code. You would understand if you got this a couple of years ago why gold is blowing through all-time highs virtually every day. You would understand that. Go check it out. Get with Philip Patrick and the team at Birch Gold. Understand the power of owning physical gold. Short break. Back in the War Room in a moment.
Every person who has taken me on this road to that prison is a friggin' Democrat and a Trump hater.
When former White House advisor Peter Navarro stood on principle, he never imagined it would land him behind bars.
They demanded that I break the law.
But he refused to betray Donald Trump or the Constitution and paid the price as a political prisoner. Locked inside a Miami federal prison, Peter found 2 lifelines, postcards of hope to his fiancée Bonnie Pixie Brenner, and a hidden multi-million-dollar prison scandal he's now exposing. went to prison so you won't have to. Peter and Pixie share a riveting prison diary, a heartfelt love story, and a shocking look at injustice in America's prison system. Stand with Peter. Scan the QR code now or go to Amazon.com to order your copy.
I went to prison so you won't have to.
Florida Sun Goddess here. Let me tell you why I love RAV. They let my voice be heard. They give me a platform for community so I don't feel alone. Thanks so much. God bless.
I'm Andy M., and I love Real America's Voice, where my voice counts and your voice counts. That is America's Voice.
Flashosaurus in the chat. I love Real America's Voice because I can watch news being delivered to me live while I chat with a family I love.
Hello, this is Kurt. Why do I love RAV? If you ever talk to the hosts, you can do that on RAV. And the RAV family, they'll talk back to you too. Let you know what's going on. Take care.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
In this moment in world history with the geopolitical, America, hemispheric defense, what you're seeing in the Eurasian landmass, the 80th commemoration of the end of World War II was about a war that was fought over the Eurasian landmass from both Europe and from Asia. The Americans were the victors there with the Russian people and the Chinese people. The Russian people were, I think, in many ways horribly led. In some ways, they were well led because the leaders, as bad as they were, would not give up. And that was very important, particularly in that brutal year of 1941 into the winter of 1942. But it's obvious that elements inside the U.S. government stocked the Bolsheviks, Stalin, and the Soviets, the leaders, who were pound for pound as bad as Hitler, with weapons, and that led to this horrible Cold War that lasted for decades and decades and decades, and the captive nations, of which today was such a glorious day for Poland and the Polish people, and this great young leader. They've got the boxer and the historian combined in one person, and the Law and Justice Party to put Poles first and put Poland first. And Poland's been such a great defender of Western civilization and not some theoretical Western civilization. At the same time, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany, three nations that should know better, particularly France and the United Kingdom, have been at the forefront of destroying Western civilization because their elites, being unable to defend, believing in the substrate and the basic principles and foundational elements of Western civilization, have allowed an invasion of their countries that are leading them to financial ruin and, quite frankly, going to lead to a civil war in England. Now you had the British acting like fascists, try to stop free speech. Nigel Farage in town. GB News is launching even a bigger aspect in America. Nigel Farage is here. He testified today and had Jamie Raskin, of all people, trying to call him out. Little Jamie Raskin. So the fight is on, and that's why it's such a glorious day for the Poles. Dr. Bradley Thayer joins me Dr. Thayer, we got so much to talk about the geopolitics, all of it. I'm going to get to that. If I can't fit you in tomorrow morning because of the hearing, I'll get you tomorrow afternoon. We're going to spend a lot of time on this because what happened was a world historical moment, and we got to understand that, understand the elements to it. This is why, by the way, Birch Gold, take your phone out, text Bannon at 989898. Do it today. That's the ultimate guide for investing in gold and precious metal age of Trump. And you can get access, Philip Patrick, and to the end of the dollar empire. End of the dollar empire over 4 years, folks, and we have not been wrong on one element of it. And we could have told you gold was going to be at $3,600. We didn't. We specifically didn't because we're trying to get you to learn it yourself. Don't depend upon us. Learn it yourself. That's what the show's about. One of the things is grab people, and this ties together Made in China 2025. They focus on all those industries, the singularity, because we're the leader on the right in the anti-transhumanist movement, anti-AI, all of it. And also we're going to have the folks from the Epoch Times on. Jan's going to join us tomorrow about the whole thing about the organ harvesting. Xi and Putin caught hot mic, walking around, talking, chatting like old buddies. What are they talking about? Bannon didn't write this script. What are they talking about? Immortality. What are they talking about? Getting them fresh, hot organs, getting them put in there. They're talking about immortality for the two of them. Dr. Bradley Thayer, this is one of the, from two demons, demonic talk, sir.
Steve, it certainly is. It's great to join you this afternoon. I think there are really a few points to keep in mind here when they're talking about this. First, both Putin grew up in a communist system, of course, and Xi Jinping is a communist, of course. So what do communists do? They're taxidermists. They stuff their leaders and put them on display, right? They deify their leaders because they want to have them around permanently. Because they don't believe in, of course, natural law. They don't believe, of course, in God. So they have to have them. So both men grew up in a system that sought to preserve their leaders forever. And it's not a stretch for these men to seek the same, really, to have want to keep themselves around forever. Second, they're not ordinary men, of course. They're tyrants. And so to stay in power, they've got to show that they're healthy, as any sign of their mortality may result in their overthrow. And both have had serious health concerns. And so they want to ensure that they're robust and they're healthy, because there is no old dictator's retirement home, right? Essentially their life requires that they stay in power, and that's going to require that they at least have the illusion of good health. So that leads, of course, to the third point, which is their good health is going to require organ transplants. And they, again, Putin's 72, is going to turn 73 this year. Xi Jinping is 72. He had his birthday in June. So they may have had, or certainly are planning to have, organ transplants. And they want to, of course, instill the fear, of course, in any potential rivals. They're going to be around a long time. And although a transplant is...
Yeah. It's the basis of Marxism.
Thing. Yeah, but
totally,
inevitably...
Totally atheistic, totally believes there is no afterlife. There's no kingdom of God. There's no kingdom of heaven. Right there. They're trying to be immortal, and you wait. You wait, folks. You heard from the two top guys. So you don't think there's things going on in labs in China right now? You don't think there's things going on in labs in Russia or in parts of Ukraine? Yes, sir. We got about a minute.
They have the Chinese Communist Party runs what it's called the 981 Health Project, which is striving to make CCP leaders live as long as possible. Right? Xi Jinping talked about 150 years. So
50 years.
The PRC authorities are already harvesting organs from young Falun Gong members, from executed convicts, from Muslims in Xinjiang. So we want to understand that's for their own health, but also that they may be promising this as really currency in international politics, right, to other world leaders and to their families, to have a direct path to influence over them and withholding essentially healthy organs.
Okay, Dr. Thayer, we got to bounce. What's your social media?
Brad Thayer at X and Bradley Thayer, Getter and Truth. Thanks a lot, Steve. It's really, it's satanic. It really is a satanic project.
We'll get you back on tomorrow to talk about the geopolitics. It's satanic from a couple of demons. You think this is just about, different forms of production, who owns the means of production? You could not be farther wrong. Short commercial break. We'll be back in the war room in just a brief moment.
Hey, Real America's Voice family.
Are you on Getter yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free. It's uncensored.
And it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Getter app right now. It's totally free. It's where I put up exclusively all of my content 24 hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Getter.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec.
And so many more.
And the best part?
You can watch Real America's Voice right there on Getter.
Live.
Join the conversation.
Hop on the Getter chat room.
Engage with patriots who are just like you.
Good morning, Getter friends.
We're breaking news, we're delivering the truth,
and we're doing it on Getter
every single day.
So don't wait. Download the Getter app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
It isn't just an app. It isn't just a social media platform. It's a community.
Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Good evening, America. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the latest edition of Just the News, No Noise. I'm your host, John Solomon, reporting to you from the nation's capital, where even the mayor agrees things are a little safer. Yes, President Trump's deployment of troops has made a big deal, and even the mayor and some members of the city council are beginning to acknowledge that. Now, let's start with a little news right here from the Capitol. Earlier today, a group of survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring spoke at a press conference after testifying in front of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee yesterday, and they directly addressed some of the claims made by the Department of Justice and Attorney General Pam Bondi. You may remember that the Justice Department wrote in a memo that no Epstein list actually existed. That came out after the Attorney General had said during another interview previously that the client list was on her desk. Well, the White House then further clarified that Bondi was talking about the volume of documents that were on her desk, not an actual list of names. Today, the group of Epstein survivors said they have vowed to compile their own Epstein list, whether the Justice Department has one or not. They know who was being serviced by Jeffrey Epstein, and based on their own experience, they're going to make that public about what they know about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's actions. This is a story that isn't going away anytime soon. Later today, or shortly after the news conference, the House voted to authorize a full-scale Epstein investigation. No surprise there. That's where Mike Johnson and James Comer have been from the beginning. They're going to get to the bottom of it. Now, one other big news story we've been tracking today over at justthenews.com, Florida's Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo, announced earlier today that the state will end all vaccine mandates and that Florida's Department of Health will work with Governor Ron DeSantis to implement the new policy. It becomes the first nation in the country, first state in the country to eliminate vaccine mandates for school children. Ladapo further explained about vaccine mandates that, quote, every last one of them is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery. That quote got a lot of attention throughout the country after he said it. All right, let's bring in my amazing co-host, Amanda Head, for some other headlines. Amanda, what are you tracking today?
Yes, indeed. I actually want to head back to the Epstein topic for just a moment because President Trump was asked about it earlier today in the Oval Office, expectedly, while meeting with Poland's president, and here's what he had to say.
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
So obviously, President Trump wants to move on from the story, but it looks like the nation and the media will not be moving on, at least not for now. So moving on to foreign policy, to China specifically, where Chinese leader Xi Jinping, Russia's Vladimir Putin, and North Korea's Kim Jong-un all met earlier at a Chinese military parade that was put on to mark the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II and the Empire of Japan's their retreat from China. And President Trump had a message for them on True Social, quite spicy. He said, the big question to be answered is whether or not President Xi of China will mention the massive amounts of support and blood that the United States of America gave to China in order to help it to secure its freedom from a very unfriendly foreign invader. Many Americans died in China's quest for victory and glory. I hope that they are rightfully honored and remembered for their bravery and sacrifice. May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America. Woo! But that wasn't the only news to come out of that meeting, because while Xi, Putin, and Kim were walking together through Tiananmen Square, they were caught on a hot mic moment talking about extending their lives using organ transplants and being able to possibly live to 150 years of age or more. So, John, I think it's safe to say that these three leaders don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon.
I think that's right. My wife would object if I tried to extend my life that long. I just haven't quite that out.
No way. She would love it.
No 150 years. No chance. The documents. I went through all 33,000 documents with a group of people last night and today. We've been going through them. They chronicle exactly what we said, which is we know what we know, and there isn't a whole lot more in there. They're a nice chronicle, and I want to, it's good that James Comer got this done. I think it proves what President Trump said, which is we already know what we're going to know about it. Unfortunately, there's not more to know about it because the Bush Justice Department a long time ago didn't do its job. And but you're right, it'll keep coming on. I think we're going to get some big bombshells in the next few weeks on Russia collusion, on Hillary Clinton's foundation, maybe what was on those 5 thumb drives that James Comey and his team never looked at. So those are going to be more relevant stories, I think, in the near future.
Well, we could be able to squeeze some juice from a few other very valuable lemons. These women who unfortunately were victimized by the Epstein's clients, and they seem to be ready to give up the goods and collect names and bring it together and bring it to the American people.
It'll be interesting to see. They may be able to advance beyond what the Justice Department's own documents show. There's just a limitation to what the documents show, at least so far. All right, somebody who knows what's relevant and is always a great way to kick off our show. She's a world traveler, a extraordinary member of Congress working on some of the most important issues that really matter to American people. She represents the great state of Texas, Congresswoman Beth Van Dyne. Oh, I think we may have lost her. I was going to introduce her, but I guess
no, it's right here.
There we are. Okay, we got her back. I'm sorry, guys. All right. All right, Congresswoman Van Dyne, good to have you here. Sorry about that little mix-up on the mic here. All right, I want to turn to something that has befuddled me for the last few months, and I know you've been watching it closely. Democrats trying to describe crime-ridden cities as a success, as not needing the help that President Trump and the Republican Congress wants to give them to get back to law and order. What polls are they reading? What streets are they walking?
That's a great question. And if you listen to the governor of Illinois, he admits, he's like, oh, cities have crime. Yes, cities have crime. And when you don't prosecute criminals, all you do is incentivize them to commit more crime. You have an offer from a president to help you get control over your city. This is to stop the number of deaths, to stop the number of gunfights, to help you actually make your communities feel safer. And they're rejecting it. They're making fun of them, and they're in denial. You had, what, 58 people who got shot over the Labor Day weekend in Chicago alone this past weekend? You can't deny it. And I think it's really a tragedy to the families of those affected to say that it's Trump is making this up. Why don't you talk to some of the victims before you start saying that? I was a former mayor. I take this personally. We worked very well with our police to make sure that we were enforcing, our laws, and that we were adding disincentives to commit crime. And guess what? It works.
Yeah, it does.
Congresswoman, you look at someone like the case of Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson, who has a 79.9 unfavorability rating. So he's obviously in a situation where he's got to do something to make things better for the people in the city. But also at the same time, as we were talking about before we came to air and we were laughing about with you, Democrats have been yanked so far to the left, and there's not hardly a middle ground for them. So about 3 months ago, we had Tom Homan on this show, and he said that he was willing to provide cover as the bad cop for any blue city mayors who wanted to be the good cops and resist the Trump administration. But hey, guys, come in and kind of help us clean this up. Is there an opportunity here for blue city mayors to maybe face forward, act like they are, opposing what the administration is doing, but meanwhile letting them actually come in and make things better for their constituents to help boost their numbers so they can win again?
Well, look, I think looking at what's happening in Washington, D.C. with Mayor Muriel Bowser, right? She has done that. She's publicly spoken, and she said, initially, we don't want it, we don't need it. But then it came in, and the proof is in the pudding. The fact that crime is down 50% since Trump got our National Guards involved. This can happen in other cities. Get control of your city. Then they're not saying that they want to permanently be there. We can't afford to have all of our National Guards all over our cities permanently. But if you can come in and at least help them, I'm shocked that these city mayors don't want that help. It's amazing how all they want is the cash. They come in and out of our offices all the time asking for more money, asking for more appropriations, asking for more CDBG funds. And so here you have a president who is offering to do it, allowing them to save face. And yet you still have them in denial. And it's as if they actually are protecting the criminals, are fine with that happening in their cities, and they are doubling down. Think about what would happen if you actually had a mayor who said, you know what? I've talked to one too many victims today of violence in my city, one too many kids who've died from fentanyl. We are going to accept that help because crime should not be a partisan issue. Can you imagine that? I think that mayor is saving face, but also protecting their community, and that is exactly what they get elected to do.
Yeah, that is remarkable. You mentioned the money, and I'm wondering whether there is a growing trend in Congress to consider tying future federal funds to a city's willingness to abide by common sense law and order measures, like if someone's a bad guy, don't let them out the next day after they committed a bad crime. Is there some conversation behind the scenes of Congress using the power of the purse to start to crack down on these wayward cities?
I have introduced legislation to do that. I've co-sponsored a number of my colleagues who also have bills to do that. Mine basically says if you are a sanctuary city, you're not going to get federal dollars. And we're going to actually claw back unspent federal dollars for the last 5 years if you are a sanctuary city. So if you have actually you pass a bill that says this is your sanctuary city, if these are the policies that you are carrying out, if you're preventing police from doing their job and working with immigrations and customs enforcement, then yes, you're going to get your federal dollars clawed back. Now, will it pass in the Senate? I don't know. But we're going to continue to work on legislation that would prevent these cities from putting all of their citizens in harm's way.
Yeah, makes sense.
Congresswoman, a lot of these blue cities have been plagued with crime for decades, but a lot of them also saw spikes, especially like the ones that we saw surrounding the George Floyd riots. And you also have legislation called the Stop Funders Act, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Tell us about it.
Thank you. Well, what we're saying is when we see these rioters that have been just taking over cities, taking over campuses around the country, they are organized riots. These are organized violent riots where you're seeing people in the same kind of military black gear with assault weapons, having the same literature. This is obviously organized and it's being paid for. It's being funded. So what this would do is it would expand the RICO definitions to include these organizers of riots. Would it give the federal government power to be able to go into some of these jurisdictions like we were just talking about that aren't enforcing their laws? And it would allow the federal government to come in and do that. But we are going to find out who is behind them, who is organizing them, and who is paying for it. Because the people who doing, committing the riots right now are the only ones that we can hold responsible. And you've got cities who aren't doing that. You've got DAs who aren't doing that. So this actually allows us to get and find, rioters who are showing up in cities over and over again in different cities around the country. It expands it to allow us to find out who is committing this crime, who's paying for it. And I think we're going to try to figure out any way that we can to get down to the bottom of the problem. And this allows other jurisdictions to actually connect the dots. So, cities can talk to one another, but federal law enforcement can actually investigate it and put the dots together.
Yeah, that'd be huge. Somewhere there's a racketeering conspiracy waiting to be discovered in that evidence, and it's going to be important, I think, for us to all watch how that develops in the next few months. Congresswoman, there is signals that the president will soon unleash a new blueprint for helping make housing affordable again in America. J.D. Vance said something profound the other day. I saw you reacted. I love the reaction you gave. He said that part of the reason is that when we let those millions of Americans, millions of illegal aliens into America a few years ago over the Biden years, we actually put enormous pressure on the housing market that drew prices up. A lot of people didn't put that together. You have. You've been talking about this. What are some of the ideas on the table now in Congress to get behind what the president does and maybe make housing more affordable again in America?
Well, look, you're absolutely right. When you have got the federal government that's paying market rate and above, basically cash money in kicking out people, who are already living there to be able to house illegal aliens, yes, it absolutely increased the cost because it also made the demand higher, which made the costs higher. But we've got to get down to the bottom line, whether or not that is looking at a total revamp of HUD policies, which that's the first agency that they went into. And as you know, I used to work with Ben Carson at HUD under the first Trump administration. But they have a strategy of being able to allow, get the federal government out of people's lives. The overregulation is one of the key factors in the cost of housing. And we find that in areas like California, where the housing is the most expensive. The reason why a lot of the times is the additional burdens that the federal government, the state government, and local governments put on these home builders to be able to actually build new houses. So I think we're looking at totally revamping our regulatory reforms. And that is something that's happening at HUD right now. And they've already figured out how to kick out like over 1,000 either duplicative or illegal regulations that right now are being forced on home builders. And when you're talking about literally trillions of dollars, when we start looking at regulatory reform, that could be saved. And that will definitely help people who are trying to buy new homes. The other thing that we're trying to do is look at it from a tax perspective and allowing people to use more of their earned income that's pre-tax to be able to put down payments on homes. But there's a whole host of options at the table. We're just trying to put together a very thoughtful strategy.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And as someone who ran a big city before you came to Congress, you're going to bring a lot to the table, as you always do. Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne, what a great honor to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
Great to see you guys. Great to see you. And thank you for having me.
What a great honor. What a great conversation. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, another great conversation on the horizon. Senator Marsha Blackburn will be with us to take a further look at the president's crime crackdown. Should it expand to other cities? And what will Congress do about it? We'll talk about that next. Hey folks, if you're a homeowner like me, you need to listen to this. In today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles and your equity is their target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county, and boom, just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. And that's when the problems begin, because they start taking out loans using your equity and even sell your property. And you're not even going to find out it's happened until you get a collection or foreclosure notice months later. That's a nightmare, right? So when's the last time you checked on your home title? Well, if you're like me, the answer is never, right? You need to do something about that right now. That's why I've partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code JTN at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes that might happen, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's a good deal. Find out why I trust Home Title Lock. Go to HometitleLock.com and use the promo code JTN. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code JTN.
Hey, Real America's Voice family.
Are you on Getter yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free. It's uncensored.
And it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Getter app right now. It's totally free. It's where I put up exclusively all of my content 24 hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Getter.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec.
And so many more.
And the best part?
You can watch Real America's Voice right there on Getter.
Live.
Join the conversation.
Hop on the Getter chat room.
Engage with patriots who are just like you.
Good morning, Getter friends.
We're breaking news, we're delivering the truth,
and we're doing it on Getter
every single day.
So don't wait. Download the Getter app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
It isn't just an app. It isn't just a social media platform. It's a community.
Hello, all you Ravagers. I'm Billy Howell, your old buddy Carefree Largo from the chat, and I'm thrilled to be part of the Rav family. When I want to be heard, I use my Real America's Voice.
I'm Patriot Mermaid, and I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. When the mainstream media wasn't giving us the truth, I went and looked for the truth and found it on Real America's Voice. Come and join us. Come on.
From Muskegon, Michigan. Why do you love Rav?
Because we've become family. All those Rav live chatters and me.
Hi, my name's Paul Poyer. I'm Poyer04 in the Getter chat. I love Rav for all the Getter, all the War Room Posse, and all of you guys. Love y'all. Bye.
Welcome back, everybody. President Trump has begun a huge crackdown on crime, starting here, of course, in Washington, D.C., but there's a lot of talk of expanding it to other cities that need help, many of them big Democrat-controlled areas. And it's now turning out that some Democrats are very against it, not only due to the constitutionality of potentially sending in the National Guard to these cities. That's certainly debatable. But we now have sitting Democrat governors and mayors, for example, downplaying the problem of crime entirely, acting like it really isn't a big deal. And I don't think that that's going to be a winning message in those cities that are experiencing the crimes.